Welcome back to another episode of We Were Loud Once. What's going on, Jeff?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Living somebody else's dream, I think.
Somebody else's dream. Soon it'll be your dream, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That day cannot come soon enough.
It's
I
called
don't think.
retirement.
Oh, yeah.
At some
You know,
point,
it's
it'll happen, whether you like it or not.
yeah, right. Forced retirement.
That's right.
Then I can just play guitar all day.
See, that would be the dream.
That is the dream. Okay,
That is
well,
the dream.
we're solving the world's problems here
That's
right now, I think. At least mine.
Yeah, there you
go. But no, we just wanted to jump on real quick before we get into the episode. This is a really special episode for us. First off, it's our 10th episode. We made it to double digits, so yay for us.
Yeah, rock on.
Yeah, right. Who knew we could talk about new metal for 10 episodes?
Yeah. And then maybe 10 more and maybe 100
maybe 20.
More. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe 30. Who knows?
Or maybe we'll just eventually loop around and say, we've reached the end of the internet. Here we go again.
There's nothing more to talk about.
There's nothing more to talk about. I doubt it. We're going to keep roaring.
You know, something always pops up, and
absolutely,
there's a couple things that there's always something, we'll say.
Absolutely.
But we were lucky enough to have an old friend of ours on this week, and I was very, very excited to have that conversation. We had Brock Wettstead from the band Dirtfedd on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great time.
It was a tremendous conversation, and just a little bit of context, they're from Lincoln, Nebraska, which is about 45 minutes away from Omaha. So the scenes were kind of interconnected a little bit. So we'd played a lot of shows together, and Dirtfedd was one where their story kind of differed than I think everybody else's in a really good way. And I'll let Brock tell that story, but it's an interesting episode, and we're excited to bring it to you guys. So without further ado, we'll get into the episode.
Welcome, everybody. We got a very special guest today. We got our good old friend, Brock Wettstead here. He is the drummer from an amazing band called Dirtfedd. Been around for a few minutes now, which is awesome. So we used to roll with you guys way back in the day. And yeah, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you on our show. Again, first guest of our show, which is awesome. So really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. I didn't realize I was your first guest ever, so I kind of feel a lot of pressure. But no, I appreciate you guys doing this. I'm stoked that there's so many like local music podcasts popping up lately, and I feel like you guys are kind of at the forefront of that. So
nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely a thing, and this is something that I wanted to bring up to you, Brock. Is I definitely feel like the reason that we started, our podcast is we've been talking off and on. Dan and I don't know if you listened to previous episodes before, but Dan and I go way back, and we just work really well together and stuff. And we've been talking off and on for probably a better part of a year now about doing something. And we always really dreamed about doing this because, we really focus towards new metal, with our show, and, we just kind of feel like a resurgence of the genre. And it's not like we're trying to jump back onto it by any means. It's just like, we're excited. We kind of lived and breathed it when it was brand new and inception. And, and so we just kind of wanted to get back into it as well and say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's have some fun. And so obviously Dirtfedd is, I would classify you guys as new metal, hopefully you don't see that as a bad moniker, but yeah, I mean, Dirtfedd, I think you guys epitomized so much of it. And especially in the Nebraska scene, I mean, you guys were huge. And yeah, just want to get your thoughts on what you think about this resurgence.
Yeah, new metal. Yeah, we've been called that. We've been called a lot worse, I can tell you that. Yeah, we've been called everything from new metal to like metalcore. I mean, anything you can. Yeah, I always thought it was kind of nice that I really couldn't like fit us into one specific genre, but I definitely know that when we first popped up in the local scene with you guys, new metal was definitely
it
had been going for a few years at that point, but but I think it's great that who would have thought that new metal would make a resurgence? I know everything is cyclical, but
Right.
I think it's cool that like for a while there, new metal was like a dirty word, and now it's like cool again.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that's, obviously I have always said, and I think everybody feels the same. Anytime that something, the higher you go up, the further fall, you got to fall and the harder it's going to fall. And so I kind of feel that's what happened with new metal. But I think that people just kind of generally recognize and like, actually, dude, that was a lot of fun back then. And, there's a lot of good bands. So.
Well, yeah. And it was definitely more entertaining shows, I guess, interesting to watch. Like I will say like my heart kind of comes a little more from like the hardcore punk scene. But I also think that a lot of those new metal bands also came from that world, and they kind of turned it into, what became like bands we know, like E-Town Concrete and bands like that were, those guys came from a hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And became what they were. So.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think even, like classic bands like Biohazard.
Right.
Some might, they come from the old school New York hardcore scene, but you could easily pigeonhole them into the new metal world as well. So.
Right.
And I think, as the conversation has developed, the term new metal is more of a timestamp, than an actual genre. I think, if you played, heavy tuned down guitar, late 90s, early 2000s, you were immediately new metal,
right.
Unless you were death metal, which is very distinguishable. But that's kind of how I've always thought about it. So,
right.
Because
and of course there were the bands that were like, they kind of pushed the new metal cliches a little far,
Sure.
Like the fishnet and the whatever, and
right.
just kind of, hey, when we first started, we did all that stuff. Like, our singer Dustin painted himself from like his entire upper body, total Chad Gray.
Yeah.
Off. And I even remember when we first started, the website slamomaha.com. I think you guys talked about that and how it was always fun to go and watch your band just get shit talked on there.
Yeah.
I remember the first thing that was said about us, we played, and I'll never forget, we got called Mudvayne Toe Suckers.
Oh man, that's harsh.
That term stuck with me forever.
So. Holy crap.
So after that, actually, I think I was the one that I feel comfortable saying this. I was the one that, we got together afterwards, not because of that comment, but shortly after that, I was like, all right, dudes, no more makeup, no more stuff. So,
yeah. Well, I was always going to say, like, I thought that, I thought your band always brought it, like, and this is something that was very important to Downshift as well, was just like, it was beyond just writing good music. It was like bringing everything, like you're talking about, aesthetically and just trying to have some more of a presence rather than just like, we came from our basement and here we are, and I think that, from the first time I saw you guys, all the way till when you guys were, touring and stuff, you guys always just brought it. I mean, Dustin, when I first saw you guys, he had those real long dreadlocks and stuff and piercings all over his face and everything. I'm like, that dude is built to be a rock star, and all of you guys, you just have that really cool, personality and stuff. But you really felt like you represented Nebraska really cool too. So you kept it kind of level and stuff, but I thought that the musical style that you guys had and what you guys brought to the table, I always felt like we had the same just thing that we tried to adhere to, was we're trying to always build up more from what we did the last song, the last set, the last everything. And you guys were just so full, you had the keyboards and everything. And it was such a cool sound that you guys had, and really appreciated that from you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think, the keyboards came a little bit later, but like, I think first and foremost, of course, when we first came out, we started in 2002, and actually our roots started in Omaha, believe it or not. Even though we're a Lincoln band, like we totally started in Omaha. Like our first shows were at the Ranch Bowl, and I bugged Brad Stone King from the Slow Children to let us play that, because I think he booked bands there at the time, and so he let us play and open for them. That was our first show.
Nice.
And yeah, I think we wanted to kind of come out and make I don't know, make our presence known, kind of not really shock people, but definitely get people's attention. And but I think first and foremost, like we just wanted to come out with more furious energy on stage and not so much worry about like our appearance, but just be more kind of like maniacal and animalistic on stage and just be really, because we had a lot of anger, we had a lot of like frustration, and you could really see that. I mean, all the way through our career, really, but we took it out on stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, we were, kind of the same school of thought, with that. Do you think that that was kind of encouraged or expected by the audience at the time?
Yeah, I think that was kind of, I know they appreciated that. And I feel like kids that came to shows back then, they almost kind of craved that.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it differently, just, back then, we always kind of look back on things with a different viewpoint. But just thinking back on it, like I do, I feel like kids back then, of course, there was no social media back then. There was not, there were cell phones, but not everybody had them. And so I feel like kids were more starved for a release and somewhere to go together. And if you could have a band on stage that didn't come off as like this rock star up on this pedestal, but just like more of a, I guess like a punk rock kind of, we are you, you are us.
Relatable.
And,
yeah.
I feel like that's what kids, they wanted that. And, of course, as a band, you feed off of that because, I mean, shit, we were kids ourselves back then. We started the band when we were like 19, 20 years old. So,
so let me ask you, so you guys started in Omaha. What made you go to Lincoln then?
Well, so we actually had a couple, our roots started from Omaha for a couple reasons. First of all, our band started through that wonderful website, slamomaha.com.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
I feel like I'm plugging them and they're not even.
We've done it too. We've
done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually, myself and my best friend, Eric Marshall, who's our guitar player, we wanted to start a band, just a metal band or a heavy band. I actually wanted it to be more of like a hardcore kind of, I had like Hatebreed. I was a huge Hatebreed fan at the time.
Yeah.
Satisfaction is the Death of Desire was like, that was my soundtrack at the moment. And
Nice.
but we actually put an ad on Slam Omaha's classifieds.
Yeah,
we could start bands to that. And I kind of just posted this thing about what I was looking for. And our guitar player Cameron Rubel, rest in peace, and Dustin, our vocalists, were roommates, and they answered my ad and said they were interested in starting a band. They happened to live in Lincoln. So we linked up with those two guys. Eric and myself went and linked up with Cameron and Dustin, and we started jamming in Cameron's living room. And that's how we started Dirtfedd. And, it went off a different direction. Cameron is very much a huge, like, Zakk Wylde, Shredder type. So, it went kind of a weird direction, but it was, it's definitely what we all needed at the time. So, at the time, we were also going to a lot of shows at the Ranch Bowl. All of our favorite bands were always playing at the Ranch Bowl, so we were making a lot of trips to Omaha and getting to know people there. And then finally, when we had this band, I started kind of harassing Brad and some other people at the Ranch Bowl to see if we could get a show. And we just started playing there. And there's kind of this, I don't want to say famous story, but this kind of like infamous story of us getting banned from there too right away. But
I haven't heard that. What's that?
Really? So we played a few shows there, and then one night we decided, I think this is probably maybe our third or fourth time playing there. We were across the bar, the hall at the bar drinking.
Yeah.
This is what we did. And we just were like, thought it'd be funny. Like, what if we just went out there naked and played? we all kind of laughed about it, but there was one of us that took it seriously, and that was Dustin. And so anyway, we were on stage playing, and next thing I know, Dustin's I'm the drummer. Of course, I look out for my drums and I see nothing but Dustin's bare ass. And
just ham.
Yeah, he's got the microphone and 1 foot on the monitor. He still has his like boots on.
Oh my gosh.
And then all I saw was the people in the front. Everybody just kind of like backed away quickly. And, the song ended, and I even remember Mom, the bartender, like,
right?
She was up there like throwing ice cubes at him, like, "Put your clothes on." And so anyway, the sound guy said through the monitors, like, you better put your clothes back on, or we're gonna have to end this.
Wow.
He got dressed, and then anyway, after the show, I got an email, or the Dirtfedd band email,
sure.
From, I think it was Matt Kenny. I can't remember his name.
Yep.
He told us we're no longer allowed back there because of our behavior or whatever. So
that's so awesome. How did I not know this?
I was gonna say, how didn't you know that?
That's crazy. I have no idea. That's so funny.
And then like 6 months later, so we were only like banned for 6 months. He didn't really, I think we were, as far as we knew, we were never allowed to play there again. So
gotcha.
It's kind of a bummer, but
yeah.
But then the Vernaculus played, and they invited us to open for them. So that was kind of cool. That was like our first time back there playing a Vernaculus show. So those shows are obviously always kind of packed. So
sure,
that was a nice way for us to get back in there, and yeah.
Then you just started rolling with it with the clothes on, and everybody was happy.
That's right. Never got naked again. Yeah. But then in the meantime, since we thought, well, we just blew it in Omaha, so I guess we better start like finding shows in our own actual town. And so we started playing at Knickerbocker's and the Royal Grove and stuff.
Yeah.
Back then there's a lot more venues to play at. So
totally.
Yeah. So I think Knickerbocker's is what, a Holiday Inn now?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Rest in peace, man. I remember
playing shows with you guys at the Rock.
Sure.
So those are
that's a bicycle shop now.
Yep.
Really.
That's crazy. Can you believe that? Like all these rad places gone. Yeah. Yep. Just
turning into other stupid stuff.
So what was like so in our area, obviously the cool place, like, Omaha for us anyways, I love playing the Ranch Bowl. It was like the Mecca. It was the place to go. Knickerbockers for me in Lincoln was the place to go. What places did you like to play in the area like the most? Well,
I think Knickerbockers became our home.
Yeah.
That was kind of our home base. Shawn and Chris were they always threw us on like any national acts that came through.
Yeah.
We always had the privilege of opening for people that came through there. And I also really loved Sokol Underground just because I always really liked the vibe, the lower stage. And I just always felt like you were a little more face to face with your people.
Yeah.
But that pole in the middle of the stage, though. That was the worst.
That pole was a bummer. Yeah.
Just dead center, the middle of the stage.
Dead center, man. Yeah.
Big metal pole.
Being a drummer, you probably didn't worry about it too much, Brock, but everybody else, it sucked.
I ran into it a few times.
I ran into it way too many times. It sucked. Yeah, because let's not paint it white or anything where you can see it. Let's paint it like a dark brown so it just blends in.
Yeah. Right. No gaff tape, no nothing.
Nothing. Just there you go.
Blended into the darkness.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't even think they had like padding around it or anything.
No, just metal pole. Yeah. There you go.
It eventually got filled up with stickers.
Yeah.
Started putting stickers all over it.
Yeah.
But way back when it was just a black pole.
Yeah.
And
Sokol was super rad to play at though. I mean, do they still do shows there?
It's the Admiral now.
It's the Admiral now. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what about the basement? Do they play shows down there anymore? I don't think so.
I think it's just storage now.
That's crazy. Yeah, there's so many cool memories in that basement, man. We played some really fun shows down there, and it was cool. And I agree with you, Brock. I mean, sometimes some of those grittier places where it's just more in your face was just, you know, like the Cog Factory. I don't know if you ever played
Yeah.
I love the Cog Factory, man. That's like one of my favorite places to play. And I don't know why, because it was like the stage was like 6 inches tall, smelled like piss, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it was super rad. I love that place. And then was it Ninth Street Basement? Was that what it was
Yeah, I was
called?
just gonna
Yep.
say.
God, that
Yeah,
was
so
like
that
one of
kind of
my top
became our
5 favorite
other,
shows.
that
Yep.
kind of became our other like home base too.
Yeah.
Eric, the owner, who Scott Root, who eventually became our bass player, he was the sound guy at that bar. So that's kind of how we met him and hooked up with him. So
Yeah.
What is it today? Is it still a nice?
I don't know. I don't really think it's anything anymore.
It's too bad.
Isn't that crazy? That's just too bad, man.
At least it's not a Walmart.
Yeah, that's ugh.
But
Yeah.
that was always nice because sometimes we'd do 2 in one night. Like we'd play an early all ages show at Knickerbocker's, and then we would go across the street and play the later show at the basement.
Nice.
We get to do 2. So
Heck
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. I just remember that staircase going downstairs and trying to lug cabinets up and down it. I was like, it's like no wonder my ankles are shot now.
Yeah.
You know, it's from stuff like that.
Yep.
exactly.
So I
And
got a
at
fun.
the end of the night's even worse.
Yeah, I got a funny
100%
story.
was.
I got a funny story about Ninth Street Basement really quick.
Oh, no.
So the first time that we ever played it, Dan, and you
Yeah.
probably are going to remember what I'm going to talk about here, but so
Oh,
I
yeah.
always played with a cordless mic all the time. And I didn't know jack about this place. All I knew is like people said it was really small and intimate. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so for whatever reason, I was like, I'm not going to bring my cordless mic. I'm just going to go corded tonight, just play with the house mic. And so I did. Well, we used to have this cool light rig hooked up to our drummer Cameron to his drum rig, and so he had a pad on it. So when he would play, he would actually hit the pad and it'd turn on all of our strobes and all this other stuff, and he'd turn it back off by hitting it. Well, the funny thing was it wasn't grounded. And so basically if you're holding a wire of anything and you touch his drum set, anything that's metal on it, you're getting shocked. And I didn't realize that because I've always had a cordless mic, and so I was always touching his drums and whatever, you know. And so we were warming up, like getting set up for the show, and like crowds there and everything, getting ready and stuff. And Dan's over, you know, tuning his guitar and stuff and everything. And I had accidentally bumped into the freaking cymbal. I had like a pitcher of soda, and I just like bumped into it. And I freaking like shocked me and like dumped soda all over. He's like,
no.
"What the fuck, man?" It's just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. Somebody punched me." You know, it's like, who the hell just hit me? You know? Oh my god! And it shocked me like 2 more times on stage that night because the stage is so tiny, you know. But man, I just back in and boom, I'm like, holy crap! But
Yeah.
super fun show.
I don't even know if was there even a stage, or was it?
Yeah, it was
Just
real
in the
little.
corner of the room.
Yeah, yep.
There was one. It was like this tall.
Yeah, just like a little riser. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And yeah, I mean, there's shows I don't remember playing there.
Yeah,
You know, because they would do like the little mini pitcher things
right.
for like $1. It's
Right.
like, oh no,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it was brutal.
We just happened to be friends, like with the guys that ran and worked at the bar. They partied at the house that we practiced at. So yeah, there was way too much drinking at that place.
Yeah.
I have like one funny memory about 9th Street Basement. Do you remember when Tommy Lee was in Lincoln?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We was on that
Oh,
UNL
yeah.
show or whatever.
We were playing at the 9th Street Basement one night, and we were out downtown handing out little handbills, and he was actually walking around with some people, and my wife, or she was my girlfriend at the time, she ran up to him and gave him a flyer to our show, and he was like, "Is it metal?" And she's like, "Yep." He's like, "Cool, I'll be there," you know. So of course we're like, Tommy Lee's coming to our show tonight, you know. And then he didn't show up, of course, but
Sure.
Liar.
we were just convinced he was going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like telling all your friends, like blasting. If social media would have been a thing, blasting all over social media.
Oh,
it's on your
totally.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling that show would have ended very differently had social media been a thing.
That's probably true.
In 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Because he filmed that show the year after I graduated, or like the semester immediately following me graduating, because I went to school down there.
Oh.
And I remember being pissed. I'm like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah.
You could have done this last semester, just so I
Right.
could, have a story to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I heard a
but-
lot of that show was they made it look like he was staying in the dorms, but he was actually staying at this nice apartment or whatever down in the Haymarket or something. I don't know.
Sure.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make
Yeah. And all
sense.
those reality shows, not reality, they say it's something and it's, you got a full crew and all these other things. And
Yeah.
He didn't pass chemistry, I guarantee you.
no.
Not the kind of chemistry they were teaching, I should say.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of drummers, all right. So Brock, so I don't know if you knew, but I used to be a drummer as well back in the day. And so I'd really love to hear like who your influences are.
Well, oddly enough, Tommy Lee was actually one of my first, I think kids growing up in the 80s.
Yeah.
If you had MTV and you saw Motley Crue on there, it's like
Totally.
pretty easily to be blown away when you're 6 years old. But Shout at the Devil, I had older brothers, and
Yep.
so like Shout at the Devil tape was at my I was in my brother's room, and I'd steal it, and I'd see them on TV. I thought they looked cool, but for some reason, his particular drumming style always stuck with me. Just super hard hitting, and
Yeah.
always kind of looked like he was having fun doing it. But then, as I got older, the natural progression that I feel like a million people say, but it's like, and then I discovered Metallica, and then
Yeah.
and then it's the natural progression to harder music, and then it's Lars Ulrich,
Yep.
and Vinnie Paul eventually, Igor from Sepultura,
Yeah.
but also like Dave Grohl from Nirvana. Just so, like, if there's any commonality with any of those guys, it's that they're all super hard hitting drummers.
I was going to say a lot of power. Yep.
Yeah, I was never really like, of course we all love Neil Peart and we know he's like
Right.
a genius, but I was never really blown away by super nerdy drumming. I'd rather see like caveman style drumming.
Yeah.
And that's what my style eventually turned into.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah. Yeah. I
So,
can totally
yeah,
see
just-
that influence.
Super hard hitting and aggressive. Yeah. So yeah, probably those guys, Dave Grohl, Vinnie Paul, Igor Cavalera. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then, as the late 90s came, Joey, everybody loved Joey.
Right.
Joey Jordison.
Sure.
A little faster, more technical, but like I've heard Jamie Josta say, like on the, Josta podcast, like that Joey Jordison brought blast beats to the masses. He's said
Right.
that before, like how Slipknot kind of blew up and was on the radio. So he was the first drummer to bring blast beats to the masses, and probably showed a lot of kids about blast beats or just fast double bass in general.
Sure. Yeah. Cause I mean, blast beats and stuff have been around for a long time before Joey came along. But again, it's like, it just wasn't mainstream,
Right.
It was just a lot of old school thrash stuff. And, and so like hearing like, especially when the first Slipknot album came out, like when it starts off with Sick and everything, I mean, it's basically starts off just drums right in your face and you're like, what the hell is going on? And it just hooks you. And then throughout the rest of the album, it's just full on, chaos, it's just great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And, he also did it in a kind of a creative, tasteful way that I feel like fit the song. He wasn't just doing it just to show off or just to do it. Like it always seemed to make sense in the song.
right.
So,
Heck yeah.
but yes, as far as drummers go, that's pretty much it. I don't, like I said, I don't get super nerdy with it. Anybody that tries to like come and talk drums to me, I'm like, I don't really
Yeah.
I can't
Like, I
really
just like to hit
talk
shit.
about, like, what my favorite cymbal is or like what kind of pedal I use. So
Right.
Right. So what is your favorite pedal? That's funny.
whatever's not broken, I don't know.
There you
There
go.
you
There you
go.
go.
There
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
awesome.
Yeah, I do remember watching you side stage. I don't remember where or when, but I do remember watching you hit so hard that your drums were just inching forward and
Yeah.
just kept moving.
And everything would sway. Like it
Yeah.
was, you hit with a lot of power, Brock. Yeah, for sure. Yep. It's awesome.
Yeah. We had to put always had to bring a brick with like a cinder block and put it on it. Because it always, I never figure out how to like not make it slide around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because even with like the carpet and everything, it's still, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
So now that you're not a spring chicken anymore, are you paying for that, beating the crap out of the drums? Wish you still had a little more finesse and less power, or you doing all right?
No, I've fortunately, I don't really have any the natural aches and pains of a 44-year-old, but I feel like I feel like if anything, playing in bands, especially metal bands over the years, maybe you guys can agree with this. It's kind of like the fountain of youth almost. Like, I feel like it kind of keeps you young.
Sure.
In a way.
100%.
I haven't continued to play metal this whole time. I mean, I've played in a cover band and stuff, but it's like, that's rock music, and it's still. I just feel like it kind of keeps it active, but I definitely haven't gotten any more finesse.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten any better. That's what it is.
Well, and it's not bad. The way that you peaked, Brock, you did all right, man. I mean, it's, you're doing good. So, I mean, but you're right, though. I think, especially with drumming, I mean, that's the one regret. And I say this all the time, is that I wish I wouldn't have gotten out of it, because I was in the best shape of my life, as a drummer. And then I started singing. I was like, man, I just got freaking lazy,
I'm glad you got out of drumming.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's true. But it was fun, though. I miss it. It was a good time. But
come to think of it, it was Slam Omaha that connected us.
Yep, it was.
Think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. It brought everybody together.
It brought everybody together and destroyed people all at the same time.
Right.
Their
Bring
mental
start
health.
a site like that again. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, it hurt a lot of people's confidence, but
That's right. But it brought us together.
It thickens skin,
That's right. That's right.
I remember we would get back to wherever we were rehearsing at the time and immediately go to the computer and pull it up. Who said what? Did anybody post anything yet? Is anybody saying anything? And it was like every single time. And the minute somebody would do it, it's like, oh, okay. Yep. And then people would kind of like ghost comments. You had no idea who they were, fake profiles and all that.
Oh,
it's like,
sure.
Who do you think that one is? Who do you think that one is? And as it's like, okay, let the speculation begin. But but yeah, it was, looking back on it, it really was. It kind of toughened you up. Because people were brutal on that website.
And then a Lincoln scene kind of copied it a little bit. They started their own thing called, I think it was called StarCityScene.com.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like a Slam Omaha version for Lincoln, but that didn't get as brutal, I don't think.
Well, people in Lincoln are just nicer.
Yeah, maybe
it's like the Canada of the U.S.
Yeah.
Like Omaha got rated like worst place to drive. So I guess it makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, exactly. I'm sure there was plenty of shit talking about us, but that's just to be expected. So
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Oh, we caught ours.
Oh God, yeah. Sure. Yeah, I think everybody did. Yeah. But
it was a rite of passage,
That's right. So if you don't mind, Brock, kind of take me. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the scene and everything, which is super fun, and that's where we all relate and stuff, But hopefully, we got a lot of listeners here who are outside of the Nebraska scene. They're kind of like, okay, cool, Nebraska, neat. Now what, So moving along, obviously, you guys got introduced to Shawn, as I understand. You got introduced to Shawn Crahan from Slipknot, and then just kind of take me from there. How did that start? Where did it go? And just run me through this whole process.
So I think we got introduced. Well, everybody knows Sophia John, the famous Sophia John, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Program director of 89.7 The River, but everybody knows her history is, she kind of managed Slipknot back in the day when they were a local band in Des Moines, because she worked for a radio station there. And well, anyway, there was this, I guess, I don't know if you guys can help me remember this. It's that whole time period is kind of blurry for me, but
sure.
Me too.
There was a thing called the River Music Summit, I think.
Oh yeah. Yep. I remember that.
I think Shawn was like a guest speaker at this one year.
Yep.
And then there just so happened to be like an after show at Sokol, and we were on the bill. I think Narcotic Self was also playing, maybe. I don't
They
remember.
they may have. I wouldn't have been in the band at
You
the
weren't
time.
there yet. Okay.
No.
But anyway, we played, and it was Sokol Underground, and there was a show happening upstairs too. I don't remember who that was, but a bunch of metal bands in the basement, and I think it was other types of music upstairs. But anyway, when we were playing, Sophia brought Shawn to check us out in the bait, and so yeah, he came down in Sokol Underground there and watched our set, and he dug it, and um, just we set up a meeting with him shortly after that at the Parthenon in Lincoln, actually. That is like Greek restaurant that's no longer there, but that was Sophia's family's restaurant.
Right. Yeah.
And so he came down to meet us there and basically said he really liked us and he wanted to help us out and help us get a couple like showcases and then produce our record, once we're able to do that. So yeah, he got us going on a couple of showcases in New York City, like a couple of them back to back. So we had to hop in the van and go down there, kind of short notice. And one of them we actually rode with another Omaha band, Emphatic. We rode in the van with them down there to play the same showcase. Yeah, we, like Monty Connor from Roadrunner, and there was a bunch of labels there. I remember Monty Connor specifically passed on us. He's like, nope, they have 7-string guitars, and I want the next Dragon Force. Like, that's what's cool right now. These guys are like 7-string guitars. They're old news. So he passed on us. I was kind of bitter about that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But he was looking for the next Dragon Force, and we weren't it. So
I don't think he ever found it.
Yeah, I don't
to
think
be honest.
Yeah. But anyway, we ended up signing with they were called Koch Records at the time, and then they changed their name to E1. And we recorded our album at ARC Studios in Omaha, owned by the Mogus brothers, and Shawn produced it, came down, and we just maybe a couple of weeks we lived there and recorded it, and then right out of the gate, we went on our first tour with Slipknot. And it wasn't really a tour, it was more of like they had a bunch of radio festivals scheduled that summer, and we just tagged along and got to play on those bills with them. And it was Slipknot and Korn were like the main headliners, and then a variety of other bands. They kind of were different every show, but yeah, it was The Used and All That Remains and Clutch, Chevelle. I mean, Stained was on one of the shows. It was pretty wild summer.
Heck yeah.
And then in between there, we went on a tour with a couple of week tour with Devil Driver. They took us out with them. Nice. That was fun. Yeah. And I guess I skipped, but our very first tour before we even went on that first run with Slipknot was Dope actually took us out.
Oh, wow.
So, and I will say, like, people have, said what they want about Edsel from kind of bad, people don't have very nice things to say about him, but I have nothing bad to say about him. They took us out, and he couldn't have been nicer to us. Like, he was really helpful and accommodating and gave us a lot of good advice, and they weren't, packing places. I mean, we were playing at like some pretty, like the Machine Shop and Flint and places like that, and they weren't really filling places up. So, but yeah, he was, I don't know. That was a lot of fun. That was kind of a blurry one too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you got to be kind of thinking because from the moment that, say you met the Greek restaurant with Shawn to when you go with Dope, like what was that time span? Like a few months, you think, or?
Oh, yeah, it had to be.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know. I should have written out like a timeline here.
No, it's all good. But I'm just saying, it's, you go
It all
from one,
happens so fast.
right. I was going to say, you're going from one element of, you're booking gigs and, especially in our area, I think we talked about this before. You try to do Lincoln, you do Omaha, you do Kansas City if you can, you do Des Moines, you just, you go as far as you can, but, we're not all rich, and you try to, just scourge up the money for gas money, and that's as far as you can go, so you go from that and just living it and trying to make it in our scene, and the next thing you know, you're like going with dope, and you're like, it's got to be a mind trip,
Yeah, and we were, I mean, before we met Shawn, we weren't just like living at Knickerbockers. I mean, we were trying to play anywhere regionally that would let us play there, and I mean, we even played at like a barn in the middle of nowhere and like out by Beatrice, and we played a lot in Des Moines for some reason. We connected with a lot of the bands in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And Harry Mary's a lot, and places like that. So yeah, before we met Shawn, we definitely, it's not like we just started the band and then Shawn came and swept us off our feet. Like we put in quite a bit of work.
Putting in the grind. Yeah.
And then, yeah, we met him and went out with Dope, and then I think we went in the studio right after that to record our album, The American Nightmare.
Yeah.
When we came back from Dope. And then after we recorded The American Nightmare, that's when we went out with Slipknot for that radio festival run. Because I do remember, we were like on stage saying our album's coming out in July. It wasn't out yet. So, and then, and then the album came out, and that was pretty cool because that was back when CDs were still in Best Buy, and I got to go. Shawn said it was good luck to go, and if your CD is on the shelf at Best Buy, it's good luck to go the morning it comes out, and buy a copy of it.
Yeah.
So I remember I worked at a call center at the time, and I had like my business casual on, and I went to Best Buy that morning and bought a copy of our CD. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a good.
That would have been a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Best Buy in Lincoln when it was at the 48th Street location, but yeah, and then that came out, and then we just kind of a whirlwind of playing a lot of shows locally and regionally, and then we got to go on the Mayhem Festival tour, and that summer was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Mayhem Festival, and then the first Knotfest, so we got to kind of spend the whole summer on that festival, and then end it playing the Knotfest in Omaha. I mean, not Omaha, Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Shawn kind of creatively as a producer?
Kind of I don't know. It's like this right here, I can't even put it into words. That should describe it.
Yeah.
I'll never have a bad thing to say about that dude ever. Like we owe him for every incredible thing we got to experience as a band, but he's also like, he is what you think he is. Like Clown from Slipknot, he's a 100% artist.
Yeah.
And he is out there, and like he's intense, and he's as scatterbrained as you would imagine. So I can say it is incredible to work with him, but also like super frustrating at the same time. You can imagine like, because like we'd have to go do our pre-production. We actually did our pre-production for the American Nightmare out in this farm outside of Des Moines, where Slipknot actually used to do a lot of their pre-production. I think they call it Sound Farm. But he was just, he would, we're working through things, and he would just want you to try a lot of random things, and which is, good for a producer, but he is also just, his brain is just so like on another level than most people in a great way.
Right.
Like, sometimes as the band, you can be frustrated by that, just because, you kind of had a particular path with like your song, and he might want to take a completely different direction, and you think like that's kind of ruining it maybe.
Right.
9 times out of 10 his idea turned out to be great. So yeah. So but yeah, he was you know, and he knew we liked to party, and so he definitely indulged in that with us. And yeah, there were some pretty interesting stories with him as far as that goes.
I bet. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool that you bring up like his creativity and stuff, because that is definitely, I think, you know, outside of just being in Slipknot, you know, I think that's what he's most known for, is just the creativity, you know. And so I think, you know, I will say from an outside perspective, Brock, I think that, you know, I've heard you guys play a bunch of times. We play with you a bunch of times and stuff like that. And I thought that you guys did a really good job capturing what Dirtfedd was. And I think that's something that's really important that needs to be said, is that there's so many bands out there that you watch them live and then you hear the CD and it's like almost 2 completely different bands. And I felt that Dirtfedd, you did a really good job on that record. It's a sound record. There's not a bad song on it whatsoever. It's really good production quality. You know, it's an awesome record, and you know, you should be really proud of it. I thought it was awesome, you know. So, but yeah, it's got to feel cool that you got to have that opportunity with him, and all the way to buying it at Best Buy, you know. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And it was yeah, that whole thing was a trip, and I thank you for that, by the way. We really tried, because we know, like, you know, we weren't trying to be pretentious about anything. Like, we know that our band we live and breathe our live show, you know, like that's right. And I'm not saying like production wise or whatever, but just like we focus a lot of our energy into playing live and just being as like ferocious as possible. And yeah, so we tried our hardest to capture that. I mean, I still, you know, I've heard, you know, of course, if you listen, if there's ever been any criticism at all, it is like, oh, well, you know, you guys sound a lot better live than the album.
Oh, really?
Which is not a bad thing. I'm never going to be mad at that, but
sure. Well, it just goes to show what you guys bring to the table, though, you know. Yeah. I mean, and again, like I said, it's usually the other way around. It's people are coming to hear their favorite songs, and then it's usually a mess, you know, and you are definitely not that. So
yeah, this memory just popped into my head, actually. But when we were just wrapping up our final day at ARC Studios, we were kind of wrapping things up, and we were listening back to some stuff, and the singer for Jimmy Eat World came in and was just kind of like standing there in the control room. Like,
nice.
I think he was friends with the guy that was helping us at the time, Ian, but he was just kind of listening to it, and he's like, wow, that sounds great. That's really heavy.
Cool, guys.
Sure is.
Big gulps, huh?
I just like, of all the people to walk in, I wasn't expecting him, but
right.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's funny.
Random.
Yeah, we actually had something kind of similar to that, but it's way more left field. Was you remember Dave Weber? He was like the local like sportscaster on KETV Channel 7 back in the day. Mm-hmm. He was like an older guy or whatever. And when we were doing we were getting our what do you call it? Our record was, what do you call it, Dan? When we were down at Studio B or whatever.
Getting it mastered.
We're getting mastered. There you go. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Anyway, so we were down there getting it mastered and stuff. And Dave Weber was there. And he was like, what are you guys doing? We're like, oh, we're getting our, you know, record mastered. And da-da-da. He's like, oh, let me check it out. I'm like, okay. And here's just this old dude, just like, he's like listening to, he's like, this is cool, guys. This is all right. I tell you what, I've never heard so many F-bombs in my entire life. Dave Weber loves to swear, but he was just like totally skidding out and stuff. And I'm like, wow, we are hanging out with an old sportscaster, and he's really digging our record. This is kind of cool. So
that is funny. Yeah.
We peaked.
We peaked with Dave Weber.
That's when we peaked.
And we were calling him Dave F and Weber from that point forward, because it was hilarious.
Yeah. It was awkward.
It was awkward.
You got a stamp of approval. So
stamp of approval. Yeah,
right.
for sure. So okay, so
I
you go.
forgot about that.
Yeah, so you go on tour, you know, and then you go on the first Knotfest, which is huge because I mean, that's got to be something right there too that you walk away from thinking like, man, we were a part of something that's carries on and it's, you know, it's grown bigger and bigger every single year, you know. I mean, that's got to feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a that whole summer was like I don't know, it's kind of bittersweet memories for me, honestly, like because of course we're on like the biggest metal festival. You know, this is like the equivalent of Ozfest back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And and we're on this thing and having I mean it was a grind, don't get me wrong. I mean, we did this whole thing in a van, and it's definitely not routed for a van and trailer.
Right.
We were the only band on the bill in a van, but yeah, it was incredible. But yeah, the whole time you can't help but think like well, what's next after this? And I was going through a lot of personal stuff at that time. Like I was a dad, you know, my son was 2 years old at the time, and he's 15 now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But he was 2 at the time, and he was just starting to, you know, when we would leave, I was kind of not feeling great about it, to put it lightly. Like he was, and I didn't feel great about being on the road and having all this fun. And my wife is at home, basically being a single mom and having to work and be a grown up.
Yeah.
And, so being out there, and then at the end of it, you know, as the tour progressed, towards the end of it, the partying and stuff for us started to get a little bit kind of darker.
Yeah.
Substances and I don't know. I just felt like I was kind of convincing myself towards the end of that, like, all right, well, this is it. Like, this is the peak. It's not going to get any better than this. So maybe it's time to just kind of like call it a day while, you know, I don't want to say like while we're on top, but, you know, before the ship runs into the rocks.
Sure.
And,
Right.
So towards the end of that, I'd kind of had my mind made up at that point that I was going to leave. And I don't want to just the band to end, but I wanted to step away, and was just going to go back to school and get my master's and stuff. So yeah, by the time we got back from the Mayhem Festival, we played the Knotfest, which is incredible. You know, we were the first band of the day, so it's like that's kind of like a point of pride for us.
Yeah.
If Knotfest ever like became a thing forever, you know, we could always say we were like the first band to play the first one ever, you know.
Hell yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I knew it was, you know, like I smashed my drums that day on stage and threw my floor tom out in the crowd and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
I was like, that was my way of like ending it, you know.
Hell yeah.
So but yeah, that was, you know, and then that night Slipknot played, and they were going on to do the next Knotfest I think it was in Wisconsin, but we weren't going to play that one. But we probably could have if we wanted to. Like I think they offered, you know, like Sid he was gonna have like his own little stage, and he's like, you guys can come play on my stage. And we were just kind of like, at that point we're like, no, I think we're just gonna stay here. So
yeah.
So yeah, after that, I told all the guys I think I was going to be done, and you know, they understood, and so we played one last show at the waiting room, and I can't even remember who else played.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like our show or anything. We just
right
with someone else, but and that was it. That was the last show I played at the waiting room, and they went on. I mean, you know, I wanted to help them find another drummer and get him, and because I didn't want it to end, you know. I wanted to keep going. I didn't want one that like made it all come to a screeching halt. So, but because I left, our bass player Scott decided he was going to step away, and then Dustin ended up leaving too. So half the band just kind of left.
Yeah.
So they were forced to find a bunch of replacements and kind of try to keep it going locally. And then they went for a couple of years playing some good shows.
Yeah.
And then eventually changed the name. They decided it was best to just change the name. I think they changed it to Black Sky Burning.
Yeah.
And they had some really great songs.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And but then they just decided, I think that even just kind of came to a halt. So
yeah, it's a lot of self-awareness. Yeah, it's a lot of self-awareness that, you know, like what you're talking about, Brock, you know, being a dad and having a 2-year-old and stuff, you know, I mean, I can relate. I obviously I wasn't going on big tours like you were and stuff, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, I was married and had a kid as well. And it's just, you just get to a point where you're just like, man, what am I doing? You know, like, am I living my dream? Is my dream maybe being a dad? You know, is it, you know, providing? Is it, you know, so kudos for you for recognizing that and doing that for your family, you know, and then also, you know, for the band too. I mean, it's really neat that you did that for them, you know, for the legacy of what you guys started, you know, and trying to find a replacement and not leaving on bad terms and stuff and carrying it on. So
yeah, because I knew how much work we put into this thing 10 years. And you know, I know to an outsider, even people that we knew close, you know, other local bands that we're friends with, you guys, I'm sure to a lot of people it looked like, oh, these guys were handed this fucking thing on a silver platter and they just pissed it away, you know.
No.
That's
not at all. Not at all.
So much more to it than that, you know. It's I mean, you guys know.
Yeah.
It's like if you get signed, like that's when the real work starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like everything's just sunshine and rainbows after that, you know. That's when it starts to get. And you know, we were a band that, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, we kind of probably went harder than we should in certain ways, and because I felt like it was kind of part of our MO a little bit. And then I think we decided, you know, and then it just became like the drinking and the partying and the drugs and stuff just kind of took over that. And then we just ended up the thing I didn't want, which is like this cliche, you know, like every band. So I was like, I could see where this road's going to end if this band stays on tour, going at this pace. You know, some people are not going to make it home. You know, so
yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about it. I mean, I'm saying myself.
Right. Yeah.
Just as much as anyone. You know, I was on a pretty destructive path. And you know, it's important for me to be a dad. Like I want to be a good role model for my kids, and so I'd like to think that I made the right decision, and I'm happy with it. I can look back on it, and I can come on here and on cool podcasts with you guys and talk about it and with a smile on my face and be proud of it and not, you know, be bummed. I mean, we just played a show a few weeks ago just for fun, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody would show up. Honestly, I didn't think anybody would give a shit. And like 500 people came.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I couldn't believe it. I was like almost emotional over it.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that just, again, that's a very humble thing to say, Brock. I mean, I think you know, I know it's hard when you're in it, you know, and to quite understand, you know, the impact that you're having on stuff, because you're thinking just your own internal impact on your own life and how it's impacting your family and what you're doing and everything, you know. But, you know, from an outsider's perspective, and this is like the one message I wanted to make sure that I got to say to you and stuff, you know, being Nebraska boys ourselves and everything, you know, I mean, we were so proud of what Dirtfedd was doing for Nebraska, you know, and if there was any band to make it and do exactly what you guys did with, you know, Slipknot and everything, you know, just like getting into that new metal wave and riding it, like, you know, I'm sure Dan hopefully feels the same way, but I know he does. But dead serious, dude. Like when you guys were going through that whole process, we were freaking fist pump in the background, like freaking go get it, dude. You know, we love Dirtfedd. We love you guys so much, and We loved playing with you guys. It was always so tight every single time. And as you could probably attest, and I don't want to, crap on anybody, but like that wasn't always the case in Nebraska. A lot of bands out there and stuff, it was kind of dog eat dog. And we've kind of talked about that a little bit before. And, that certain areas like Des Moines and stuff, they really scooped up as many people as they could to try to help each other. And, Nebraska really wasn't like that, and so that was the one thing that we always felt like we were really tight with you guys you guys are just good dudes, and you guys deserved it, every bit of it.
Well, and I guess that's why I was in Omaha, even before we started playing there. I'd always heard like horror stories about Lincoln bands coming to Omaha and just getting Omaha,
right.
They say that like as soon as the Omaha band's done, the place clears out or whatever. But I never got that vibe from it. I mean, I never got that vibe from we were welcomed with open arms in the Omaha metal scene. And like I said, that's where our roots started.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know as we went through, I can confidently say the whole time we were in the local scene, whether it was Omaha or Lincoln, we tried really hard to, if we ever were having like an ounce of success, and I'm talking like, oh, maybe we can actually draw some people to our shows. Like maybe we can get a couple hundred people to come to Knickerbockers to watch us play.
Right.
Tried really hard to have our friends' bands play, just to get them in front of crowds and really, high tide raises all ships, that old saying.
Yep.
We tried hard, and I will say, once things started kind of happening for us, like with Shawn and, Lincoln, it's a small town. I mean, you hear all kinds of shit talking, and I know exactly who you were that was saying. But I don't hold grudges, with anyone. I'll still, to this day, I try to promote, local music and local bands as much as possible. But what I was getting at was when things were happening for us and we actually had connections with people like Shawn, I was giving, and a lot of bands don't even know this, but I was giving him stacks of demos to check out of all the local scene bands, like metal, punk, whatever. Maybe without their permission, but I'm sure they wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have minded so much.
Right. Yeah. And I was really trying to like, okay, well, if we can get recognition, like I really wanted to start like I mean, it's probably a little dramatic to say, but like a Seattle type thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I really wanted, if Slipknot couldn't bring spotlight here, I mean, of course we're not Slipknot. We're not
right.
Slipknot, but if we can do anything in our power to bring attention to the Nebraska metal scene, I really wanted to do that. And I tried like hell to give him demos to check out and our label, and it just couldn't get any traction with anyone. Yeah. So, but I tried really hard. And so if there's ever anything that kind of like got stuck in my craw hearing about that, was that we went, took off and didn't really try to help anybody else, and that's definitely not the case at all.
Yeah.
If anything, we probably tried maybe a little too much with that instead of focusing on getting better as a band. But,
right. Well, being from the scene ourselves, I mean, we appreciate that, and I think, and again, I'll attest, we've known each other for a long time, Brock, and I will say that's who you are, and that's, you're not shitting, you're not like, oh no, but it's secretly behind the scenes, you're an a-hole. I mean, you're a good dude, I mean, because like this guy, I got to bring up a cool story just to kind of, prove what I'm saying here. So like, two parts to the story is actually kind of fun. So we played with each other at the Pinnacle Bank. Is that what it was in Lincoln? Or no, not the Pinnacle Bank. What was the underneath the arena there?
Well, it was Pershing Auditorium.
There you go, Pershing. Thank you. And anyways, we played a show together, and what was funny is that the promoter of the show saw us at 9th Street basement, and they were like, hey, we're putting together the show, and they're like, you guys have these wicked cool lights and everything, we want you to headline. And we're like, oh cool, we're honored, who's going to be on it? And they list everybody out, and Dirtfedd. I'm like, do not put us after Dirtfedd. I was like, we will get absolutely no crowd. No, we love you guys. You know, like you have this cool light show and stuff. I'm like, please do not put us after Dirtfedd. And they're like, no, you guys, this is cool. And we're like, okay, cool. So we did it, but we'll come back to that in a second. But either which way, I just remember, Brock, like we were sitting there at the merch table next to you guys, and there's some people kind of effing around and stuff, and somebody dumped from your table a bunch of beer on our merch, and you're like, dude, not cool. And you like kind of scolded them, and then you like reached in, you grabbed a bunch of cash, and like, I'm buying this merch that got ruined. And like, I'll never forget that. Like, dude, that was such a cool thing that you did that night. And I was like, man, he's like one of the coolest guys out there in the scene right now. Like, that was such a cool thing. You could have been like, sorry, bro, you know, like the way it goes, but you didn't. Like, it was really neat. And you didn't have to do that.
I appreciate that. I was expecting like I was the one that dumped the beer on.
No, man.
So that's usually the way the story goes.
No, I thought that was rad of you to do that and stuff.
For
I'll
sure.
never forget that about you. But
Cool.
but then again, just like what we thought, you know, like it was a super cool show. Tons of people are there. You guys go up there, absolutely crush it like you always do. And we're like, man, we really hope that these, you know, this crowd, you know, stays around and stuff. And no, it was like 15 people were left, and we're like, yeah, that's what we thought. And then like
we got Lincoln.
Yeah, we got Lincoln. Yep, that's what we were talking about, getting Omaha. We got Lincoln. So it was, man. we felt pretty crappy about ourselves, but it was neat to play that show with you guys.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It wasn't your fault. So it's the way it goes sometimes. Obviously, they were there to see Dirtfedd, which is cool and rightfully so. So, but
man,
heck yeah.
Yeah, the basement of Pershing Auditorium. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. See, I was sitting here trying to think of like all these random places we used to play, and like in Omaha, one of our first shows was at a skate park. It was called RNS Skate Park or something, or RNS Skate Shop.
Oh, okay.
It was like an skate shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we played there with like Truth and Ruin and some black metal bands or something.
Nice. Yeah.
It was funny to see these guys in like corpse paint standing in the middle of a half pipe.
Skate shop.
Such a weird dichotomy. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah,
we did like super scary music, and these kids are like skating around. But,
yeah. I think
a gig's a gig, you know.
Exactly, a gig's a gig. I was gonna say, I think I played a show like that too, where we were like and like you said, like a barn as well or something like that, and there was a death metal band playing. I'm like, man, this looks so weird, you know.
You guys probably played the one in Hamburg, Iowa, where there was like 500 bands out in the country, and it was like all night. And I guarantee Downshift was on that show.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
The guys from this band Liquid Chicken like put it.
Oh, Liquid Chicken.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big outdoor farm, homemade stage, and there was like all kinds of bands from Omaha.
Yeah.
And we ended up playing at like 5 a.m. The sun was coming up, and
nice. Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah.
Man,
I think
I hadn't thought about that, and I hadn't thought about that in
exactly
years.
Yep. Well, that's what's kind of cool about the Nebraska thing. Again, coming back to that is like, that's just what you got used to, you know, and you never knew, you know, like you might play, you know, you just took the shows that you got because you might be playing in front of just your friends and the other bands, or you might show up and freaking there's 1,000 kids there. And you're like, holy crap, I had no idea. You know, you're in BFE in Iowa, you know, which happened to us a couple times, and you're just like, I did not expect this at all, you know. And that's what was fun about Nebraska, or just the Midwest in general, is, you know. But the other thing is too, is I think the kids really just, they dig it, and you know, not a lot of those kids, you know, they're used to traveling to, you know, Omaha and stuff like that, and so when we come out in Hamburg, Iowa, or whatever, you know,
Avoca. I remember.
Exactly. Yeah.
So an empty room.
Well, I just feel like, you know, back then, I think we were talking, Brian Luganbill, our guitar player, and I were talking about this, I think on a other podcast thing we did. We were talking about how bands used to, well, like we would like burn a stack of demo CDs, you know, and just ruin CD burners. Just get a stack of demos, like super high, and handwrite all of like the song titles and your website and you know, if like, I remember one time in particular, like Stone Sour was playing at the Royal Grove, and this was like 2003 or something. And yeah, just the place was packed, and we just stood outside as people were leaving with a stack of demos. And of course, everyone's like, "Oh, sweet, free CD." And the first thing they do when they get back to their cars, hopefully they put it in the CD player, and they
Yeah.
don't throw it out the window.
You better not throw it out the
Like,
window. I
all
just
that,
smoked my
like,
CD burner.
yeah, all that hard work of like making all those CDs, writing on them, and then if you have a show coming up, you know, you put a handbill on there.
Right.
So hopefully they like the CD and then they come to the next show. But
Yeah.
just yeah, a lot of like hands-on work back
A lot
then.
of that grind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part that I miss, you know. I freaking love that grind back in the day. Now again, you know, I mean, we talk about it a lot. You know, obviously I'm not in a band anymore, but so Dan talks about it a lot, but just all the social media work that you grind on now, you know, and it's a different story. But yeah, I miss those days of flyering and
Oh
just
yeah.
all the
Me
Kinko
too.
stuff that we would do, and you know, and then
Well,
you'd
I
like
wish-
you check out somebody else's, you know, handbill, and you're like, that's a good idea. So then you kind of rip it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I remember one time we made like we used to, of course, trying to just be as extreme as possible. And I made like a flyer, and it was like some gruesome picture of somebody's like that blew their head off or blew their own head off. It was
Yeah.
a really graphic photo.
Yeah.
Nowhere would let me put our flyer up. You know, so
Yeah.
like, I made all these flyers at Kinko's and I couldn't put them up anywhere.
Whoops.
Yeah.
But
That's funny.
no, I mean, yeah, as far as the social media and stuff, like Narcotic Self, I wish people need to take some notes. You know, you guys are killing it in that department. I wish
Thank you.
hopefully more bands can like see what you guys are doing and just, you know, you guys are really the only ones I notice anyway that like put any sort of effort into that sort of stuff. So
It's wild because, you know, we've been sitting on a bank of, photos for years, and, we really hadn't done anything with social media in a long time. And we kind of made a conscious decision. That was probably about 6 months ago. It's like, okay, we've been a band, Narcotic Cell's been around for 25 years or whatever it is, right? And it's
Yep.
like, the social media presence is nil. So like we probably need to kind of ramp it up a little bit. And it's a lot of work, because not only do you have to find, a photo, you have to come up with something to say about it. And then what hashtags they're going to wear. Am I promoting a show? Am I promoting merch? What am I doing with this? So I just decided at one point, I'm just going to start making fun of everybody, because it's like, if you get a laugh out of it, then cool, you
Yeah.
might remember it, so, I don't hit the target every time, but I hit sometimes,
yeah,
and
just
I
keep it lighthearted.
yeah, and I ride the line pretty close, just to not piss them off completely, but
Yeah.
I'll get a text message, saw your post, or whatever.
That was a
And,
good Jesse impression, by the way.
yeah, thank you. I've been
Nailed
working
it.
on that one.
love
Between
Jesse, by the way.
him and Jesse and Rick, they tend to take a beating on the social
Yeah.
media. I've come up with nicknames for them all.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
we were
tricky.
coming when we were coming to Omaha, the old days, 2003. I remember Narcotic Self was, kind of established at that point. And
Mhm.
I do remember, like people saying like, or just me thinking like, oh, that's the band we need to play with, or Downshift and Narcotic Self. And you guys seem to be kind of like the benchmark as far as metal bands anyway in the Omaha scene. I do remember that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
It
appreciate
was,
that.
yeah, for sure. And we all played together quite a bit.
Yep.
And I actually tried to find, because I tried my best throughout the years to like save posters and stuff, just in case I wanted to do something with it later. So I was kind of going through trying to find something, with two or all three of those bands on it. I could only find one, but I do have it. I'll show you guys, and the people who are watching on YouTube can see it. But it was this show.
Oh, nice.
Dimebag Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dimebag show. So you got Narcotic and Dirtfedd, and then Downshift is way down here. So
Is that the Grove?
Yeah, it's the Grove. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had to learn. We played War Nerve.
Yeah.
Everybody had to learn to cover. So.
Yeah,
I was just going to ask you.
We were just talking about that last episode, or the one.
Yeah,
before,
a couple episodes ago.
We did Suicide, the Suicide Notes.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
We decided to bring acoustic guitars up on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know how wise of an idea that was.
Yeah, one and only time that we ever did that.
That was pretty rad. That was. I think we did okay.
If anybody can pull off a Pantera, it's you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. But,
especially Jesse, man. Nobody can pull off a fill like Jesse.
You know, he's been working on it for a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's at least 75% Phil ensemble, I think, at this point. So
yeah.
he
shit about it.
They were doing him and a couple other people were doing like a Pantera cover band or tribute band for a hot minute there.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to do.
Yeah, they were doing that. They were doing that. He was doing it with Rich.
That's right. Yep.
At Echoes, Rich and Ted, and they were in the same. We shared a practice space with them when they were doing that. So got to hear that.
They did good. They pulled it off, I think.
Yeah.
You just got to convince Jesse to shave his head.
Yeah.
then he'd bump up to the 100%.
Be a tough one.
See, me and Brock will step up and we're like, Jesse, it's not that bad, homie.
Yeah. We can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll make sure that he sees this, and I'll timestamp it for him and send it to him.
There
go.
you
Yeah.
So we got a good laugh out of you, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. But
I love Jesse, man. One of my good memories with him actually is the very last show I ever played at the waiting room. He and I had a shot in the green room, and that was kind of I don't know, I just remember that as being kind of, he said some nice things, and it was just kind of a cool moment.
That's awesome.
It just goes to show you, like, the bond, the brotherhood that was created with a lot of people over the years in the scene. And
we all kind of
just happy to see you guys still doing it. Yeah,
it's and I kind of want to go back to something you said earlier. It does keep me connected with my younger self, very much so. And now that I'm in my mid to late 40s, it's, I find myself wanting that connection more, but it does, keep me young. And I think that's why I still do it, because, I'll tell people, at work or whatever, or they find out that I play in a metal band.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting in a boardroom, and somebody's gonna whip out their phone. What's your band called again?
Yeah.
Oh no, here we go.
Yeah.
Narcotic Self, and then they'll pull it up. They'll sit there listening. CEOs are walking in, and what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Band, Yeah. And some people actually look at me and just are like, what? Like their opinion changes of me. And it's bizarre. I actually had, and this is a 100% true story, I had a boss years ago who had no idea that I played in a band. In fact, this wasn't the Downshift days. This would have been my band after that. And he had no idea. And one of the other guys that I was working with found out, and he's like, oh, that's so cool. Well, he ends up telling our boss. Immediately upon walking in the next morning, I got the drug test cup thrown at me.
Oh no.
And he's like, I need you to go down to the clinic down there and get drug tested. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like,
weird.
Whatever, man. I'm gonna pass and you're gonna look stupid. So
yeah,
and that's what happened.
No. I'm a firm believer in playing music in general. It's good for your mental health. Like that's what I do. I'm a mental health therapist. Like I have a private practice.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
In my office right now. I'm on the couch right now where my clients usually sit.
Oh man, I got a couple things I want to talk to you about, by the way.
I'm not kidding. I do talk to people about, like, especially people that are struggling with depression and whatever, about picking up an instrument, or maybe they used to play an instrument, or even further, maybe they used to be in a band, like trying to get that going again, involving yourself in the music scene, I mean, there's young kids that I've talked to that struggle to make friends, and I know I've had that conversation with them about there is a local music scene. It's maybe it's not as big or thriving as it used to be, but there is one, and you just go there, and it's all a bunch of strangers coming together and making friends with each other, and they have this. You guys have this like one bond. You guys are there for the music. And maybe some people aren't there for the music, they're just there for the social time, but regardless, it's just all good. It's all beneficial.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've noticed this, like the older I get, that if I'm in a terrible mood, or I'm tired, or I'm just done, you know what I mean? I'm just cooked. The last thing I want to do is go to a rehearsal. But afterwards, I'm like, that's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
And I mean, a show, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
like the adrenaline, like all
Oh
of it.
yeah.
People ask me all the time, do you still get nervous? No, I like get excited. I'm like, I get me out there right now, because it's such an amazing feeling. So yeah, it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it does something to you.
Absolutely. No, I just think, yeah, it's a dopamine dump that you can't really get anywhere else. And
Yeah.
I wish you could just bottle that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to keep playing, I guess.
kind of undescribable. I mean, to an outsider, band dudes might look at, some people might look at band guys like, oh, it's just kind of a self-serving ego. You just want to be up on the stage so people look at you and think you're cool. And no, it's so much deeper than that. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know my wife has been with me since Dirtfedd, pretty much started. So she's been through this whole gamut of stuff, and she knows, like, I used to purposely get into like a really dark place mentally when we played. And it wasn't like I was trying to be this weirdo vibe, put on this vibe thing. No, it's just where I went.
Yeah.
And I wasn't responsible for what happened, during that time. But anyway,
Right.
it's different now. I'm older, 44 years old, and we played this show. It was the first sober Dirtfedd show I've ever played, which was kind of great, and it was incredible. It was like, just seeing the Bourbon Theater full of people, like 500 people. And it was just, I can't even describe that feeling. It wasn't like doing this for myself to like rebuild my ego or anything. That was 100% for, if anybody enjoyed our music all those years ago and you wanted to come and just like celebrate it, sure, we might have a couple new faces, filling in, but for the most part, it was just to have fun and kind of hear those songs and celebrate it if that was important to you.
Yeah.
And when we first decided to do it, I just wanted to like jump on a local show and open for somebody. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I just wanted to like jump on an opening slot, just for fun. And then I think we decided we should probably do something a little more involved, I guess. So
Sure.
glad we did.
What's the, kind of staying on that path a little bit, in terms of kind of like your kind of mental connection to it. Like, what's the difference, in terms of that, like playing like a Dirtfedd show to a cover show? Like, do you get the same kind of connection playing covers that you do playing Dirtfedd stuff, or is it a completely different thing?
No, it's couldn't be more different. Yeah, for me. I play in this cover band. It's called Dad Rock, by the way.
Nice.
Shameless plug. But like Eric Marshall from Dirtfed's in that with me. So there's a couple guys from Dirtfed. There's a couple guys from this band we used to play with called Section 8.
Oh yeah.
They just played with us, at this show. So it's basically Section 8 and Dirtfed combined to make this old guy cover band called Dad Rock for all dads. And we play like Foo Fighters and Green Day and all the typical cover band stuff. But that's just for fun. You're playing to a bar full of people that are, 90% of them aren't watching you. They're just there to drink beer and have fun. And every once in a while you get some people up there on the floor to dance, or they get drunk enough to where they actually come up and sing along, which is great. That's a happy vibe.
Yeah.
And I just equate my time in Dirtfedd with angst, anger. I didn't see smiling faces out there. You know, I saw anger, rage, people beating each other up. And that's how I felt. I felt, you know, a lot of rage when we played. I mean, there's times when I think I kind of blacked out, and the show would be over and I didn't really remember playing it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I drank a bunch of beer either.
Yeah.
I just go to a different place. And it's a kind of hard to explain, but I would mentally just kind of get there and kind of take it out on the drums or just take it out on the live show. And you know, not everybody in the band was like that, but I know I got that way.
Yeah.
And it was definitely therapeutic for me. I mean, good anger management technique for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole time period was really, you know, beautiful and fun. But yeah, also a lot of darkness in that time too.
Yeah, because that's a good point. Is like, I just think a lot of people in that stage of their life, I mean, everybody goes through darkness in all stages of life, but it's a really weird time for people, you know, when you're in your late teens and early 20s and stuff. You still feel like a kid, but you get the pressure of being an adult, you know, on you, and it's just like you're trying to figure it out. And if you didn't have a whole bunch of great role models telling you how to do it, you know, you're just left out there on your own. And so it's tough. And I know exactly what you're talking about like blacking out and stuff. You know, I just always chalked it up to being nervous, you know, like pure adrenaline, you know, or something like that, you know. But that's the hardest thing. I get a lot of questions, you know, from, you know, my friends or family or whatever, you know, like, what was it like playing with the Misfits? What was it like doing this stuff? I was like, I have no idea. I don't remember. And if, you know, Dan knows I didn't drink, especially at shows, you know, and because beer just wrecked my vocals. And so I was stone ass sober every single show. And I wish I wasn't, you know, because it freaking drove me crazy. But I don't know if it's an adrenaline thing or maybe I'm just overly introverted or what, but it just kind of blacked out. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a weird feeling.
No, you did the right thing for sure by staying sober. Believe me, your performance probably thanks you for that.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to make it sound like, you know, darkness, like whatever, but you know, like when, I mean, the song, the music, you know, our lyrics and stuff we wrote about, like we lived that. We weren't, you know, being posers about any of it.
Right.
And it was very debaucherous. I know I can speak for myself personally. I was out of control a lot of times, and a lot of violence and drugs and, you know, a lot of destruction that we kind of caused that I feel bad about now. But, you know, we just thought, well, that's just what bands do at the time. You know, we thought we were like Pantera on a budget or something.
Sure.
With that lifestyle.
Well, I think you're what would you call it? Like, well, not an anthem song. What am I trying to think of? Basically you guys had a song called, you know, I try not to swear on this as much as I can, but I'm going to have to, but you guys had a great song. It was Drink, Fight, Fuck, Salute. And I think that might be one of the biggest songs that you guys are most notorious for. And I think it was super, super cool song. And it epitomized you guys like so much. And I thought it was awesome. You know, I mean, musically it's great, you know, but the words behind it, you know, it was like, this is Dirtfedd. It's like, if you want to know what they are, this is them, you know, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was, I mean, we were not shy about, you know, if we did interviews and stuff, it was all, I mean, we described our thing as like sex, drugs, and violence.
Yeah.
Those are like the three words we always used. And we were proud of that at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
But in the song Salute, yeah, I mean, if there's a song that's like a snapshot of what we were doing, that was it for sure.
Yep.
But
It's a great live song.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, that one, yeah, and then we playing it at this show, you know. I thought it was kind of ironic because like I don't drink anymore. And I don't do anything. I'm like practically straight edge at age 44.
Right.
But it's still funny playing like that song and you know, just seeing people enjoy it, sing along to
Sure.
it. Like I don't feel like I have to live it
Right.
to enjoy playing it.
Now it's just like a little asterisk next to it now.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to, you guys can do this. I'm
A
just
little
saying.
asterisk that says, but be responsible.
But be responsible. That's
Yeah,
right.
there you go. There you go. It's kind of wild, you know, the older you get, like your relationship with your body of work kind of changes, you know, as you get older, and you know, your life changes and you make other conscious decisions.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and it's
kind of-
like I said earlier, you know, it's just about being a parent. And you know, it's important for me to be a good, you know, someone that my son and daughter look up to and want to be like, you know, and it's you know, we all grew up around adults that you know, drank and used drugs.
Sure.
And we saw that as a kid, you know, we're like, ugh, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be that guy. So
well, yeah, and that's such a cool testimony, you know, like as your children, I'm sure you understand this, you know, they have a lot to look up to then, you know, in that regard. Is like my dad did all these things and he came out of this and now he's this, you know, and like how many people were in your area, you know, unfortunately in your shoes and went the other way and went south hard, you know, and lost it, you know, and it's that would be tough for those kids to have that, you know, but it's cool that you were able to recognize that and pulled yourself out, and now you're a good dad. And look at you.
Well, thank you.
Hell yeah.
I think what happens is just like discipline, like before Dirtfedd start. Well, even when we started Dirtfedd, I was in college. I was a college athlete. Like I went to school on a track and field scholarship. So I was like doing that while we were starting Dirtfedd. So I was super disciplined, you know, in that regard. And I think that's what helped get the band going, because like this discipline. But then eventually when I graduated college and stopped being, you know, having to do sports as a job, you know, like that, maybe the party lifestyle kind of took a hold a little bit of the wheel. But yeah, it's, you know, just feel thankful that the three of us can be here talking about it, because I know at any one time we probably feel like we're lucky to be here.
Oh, amen.
For sure.
Absolutely.
There's a few times I kind of stared at death at the top of the 9th Street basement staircase.
Yeah.
That was funny.
You're having
staring at a bass cabinet.
Yeah. You're having to lug like half full stacks up those stairs. And
like, Peg 810.
Well, that's why I feel bad, because like, because we had Carl, we had Kung Pao helping us all the time, and you know, now you know he's such a good dude, and but now he's, you know, he's hurting. Obviously, he's served our country, and God bless him for it, you know, and I think that's where his injuries come from. But I do feel a little bad that he was like our part of our crew and lugging our stuff around, and now he's kind of struggling a little bit, you know. But hats off to you, Kung Pao, man, good dude.
Sure.
Yeah, all those. I mean, that's what we like. Same deal. Like when we went out on tour with Dope and Slipknot and some of our first tours, Chris Knipple, who played drums for Singe here in Lincoln, he came out and was I don't want to call it a drum tech or whatever. He just helped me though. And we couldn't pay him, of course, you know, he was out there. But yeah, it's just so thankful for those friendships and people that are willing to help out. Yeah. I would have done that for anybody else.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure he probably feels the same way, you know, mutually, that it's just, you know, first and foremost, I'm sure he just loves the fact that he's probably told the story 1,000 times, you know, like, hey man, I went out with Dirtfedd and I was with, you know, Brock all this way and we did this and did that and stuff. And that's got to be a really cool thing for him to hang his hat on, you know, and then vice versa. If Singe would have went this way, it probably would have brought you along. And, you know, that's just what you do, you know, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He probably saw things he loved and saw things he wishes he wouldn't have seen.
Like Dustin running around naked you know? So speaking of which, I was going to ask you that. So obviously, you know, and if you don't want to go here, you don't have to and stuff, you know, but, you know, I think Dustin moved out to Virginia or something like that, or North Carolina or something. Are you still in touch with any of the guys since, you know, he kind of split ways? And yeah, good.
We're all still in touch. Dustin, he's kind of moved around a little bit. I know he was living in California for a little bit, and then he's originally from North Carolina, is like his home, or Illinois, North Carolina. So I think that's where he is again. But yeah, he's married and he just had a baby daughter. So
nice.
Which is why he couldn't come and be a part of our show, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's doing really well. Yeah, he went to school and
he's like a bioengineer or something like that, or if I recall.
I don't know.
Well, way smarter than me.
Yeah, I know he got a degree in geology.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Good
but
him.
we're all you know, he was very much like supportive of us doing that show and
nice.
Helped us push it. So yeah, at the end of the day, we're all still really good friends.
Good.
We lost Cameron, unfortunately, a handful of years ago, but and I know we've lost a lot of other people throughout the scene, which is sad.
Yeah, it is.
I feel fortunate, like, you know, speaking of Slipknot, like we got to go on that first run with them when Paul Gray was still alive. And then when we got back from that run is when he passed away. So I feel thankful to be able to at least go on one tour with him.
Yeah.
And then Joey also.
Yeah, Joey. Yeah.
Sure.
But
crazy.
Heck yeah. Well, I got to ask one last question here before we kind of start wrapping things up. And I was asked this question a long time ago on like a radio station. I thought it was just like the coolest thing. And I was just like, this is something I'm going to bring along with me. So what is your guilty pleasure when it comes to music? So obviously you're known for Dirtfedd, super hard band. You love hardcore, you know. What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to music?
Oh man. I don't know. I'm not really guilty about it, but like I don't believe in the term guilty pleasure. You shouldn't be guilty about something you have pleasure in. But I hate to say this, but like I love the new metal. Like
nice.
I shouldn't say that. Like, yeah, I've been, you know, on a new metal kick, especially since it's come back, like the Lollipop Lust Kill and
oh wow, yeah,
5.0 and bands like that kind of didn't quite make it out. But I'm not guilty about that because that music ruled. Maybe some like old school country.
There you go.
Which you shouldn't be guilty about either because that stuff rules too. So yeah.
So I guess I'm the weird one. I listen, like my favorite is like Ace of Base, and I listen to it all the time.
You've been doing that since I met you.
I know, dude.
I remember finding that out.
Puts me in a good mood.
Hey, I know when I was a kid, I had Paula Abdul's tape.
Nice.
Which is weird, but that's kind of random.
Yeah.
But I had Jules tape. So then, like, I guess
that Pieces of Me or something, Pieces of You or something like that.
Yeah, like her first.
Yeah, that's a great record.
Yeah. So I guess that would have been considered a guilty pleasure back then.
There you go.
The rest of my tapes were like metal and hardcore and gangster rap or whatever. But yeah, I guess that's my guilty pleasure.
Well, there you go.
Not so much a guilty pleasure, but just something maybe people wouldn't expect.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, you got anything coming up, Brock, that you want to pump?
No. Definitely not anything Dirtfedd related.
Sure.
You know, we made a point to say like this last show is, you know, we're not planning anything after that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean like the door's completely closed. That doesn't mean we won't do another one, you know, down the road. Maybe, you know, you never know what could happen.
You never say never. Yep.
Yeah. We could do that thing. Like it was so successful, you know, we talked about maybe doing it once a year for like charity or something.
Nice.
But,
there you go.
I guess my cover band Dad Rock is playing. We have a date in I think it's November 29th. We're playing here in Lincoln at this place called The Keg.
Oh, sure.
Heck yeah.
Just a small little dive bar, but as far as musically, that's the only thing I have like scheduled.
Coming up.
Yeah. Pretty boring.
Pretty boring. Look at us, we get old and hey.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think the biggest thing is people just need to understand, like if you've never heard of Dirtfedd before, you got to go check it out. I mean, American Nightmare, great album. There's old videos of you guys on YouTube and stuff. Again, you got to catch the whole flavor. You got to see the live show of Dirtfedd because it's unparalleled in a lot of ways. And I just, people gotta check you guys out. So
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely proud of it. And
Heck yeah.
The YouTube is forever, whether we like it or not.
That's right. For
yes,
sure.
it is.
For sure.
I know there's some interview footage on there I wish wasn't there, but whatever.
Maybe that'll, like maybe our stuff will get so huge and people will just forget about all that.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully it just pushes it out.
hell yeah.
Down in the queue. Yeah.
There you go. That's what we hope. We hope as well. So, all right, Brock. Well, man, thanks for coming on our show, and we really appreciate your time and all your stories and stuff. And maybe we can do it again. I had a lot of fun.
I'd love to. Anytime you want me to, I'll be back.
Right on, brother.
Cool.
All right, you take care, man. Good journey.
Thanks again, Brock.